Good morning, everyone, and
Good
welcome to
morning.
Invitation to a Conversation. Um, this is Black History Month, as you all know, and so I have a new segment called Black History Moments from People Like Us. And so this morning, we're going to have a Black History moment from Miss Olga McKenzie. Good morning, Miss McKenzie. How
Good
you doing?
morning. Good morning, Pamela. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. When I originally met you and we did our first conversation with
Right.
the Democratic Party, you told me a little bit about your history from back in North Carolina where
Mhm.
you were raised. And I would like to, since this is Black History Month, I would like you to share that story with the invitation to the conversation community. All right?
I'm glad to tell it. I'm
Mm,
glad to tell it. I wrote it out, if you don't mind, because I don't want to get off track.
yes.
Okay, so I'll read it, and then you can ask me some
Yes.
questions about it.
Yes.
Okay, so this is about the Royal Ice Cream Parlor sit-in of 1957 in Durham, North Carolina. In 1957, a small group of local young men and women and a local pastor from Durham, North Carolina organized to fight segregation in Durham. The target was the Royal Ice Cream Parlor. It had two entrances, one on Dowd Street and one on Roxborough Road. The Dowd Street entrance was for whites only, and the Roxborough Road was for coloreds only. The small group was led by Reverend Douglas Moore, a pastor of Asbury Temple Methodist Episcopal Church. This church later became a part of the Methodist Church and was renamed Asbury Temple United Methodist Church. The young people were Mary Elizabeth Clyburn, Claude Glenn, Jesse Gray, Vivian Jones, Virginia Williams, and Melvin Willis. These were students from the HBCU North Carolina College, now known as North Carolina Central University, which was also located in Durham, North Carolina, really not too far from the church.
Mm-hmm.
They developed a plan. Enter from the Roxborough Street side was where the coloreds only sign was, and continue through the building to the white side of the building, take a seat, and order ice cream. Before going to the Royal Ice Cream Parlor on June 23rd of 1957, Pastor Moore administered communion and prayed with the group. And I have a picture. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Okay. So this is Reverend Moore, and then the students that were going to, he and they were going to participate in this new plan. When they got to the Royal Ice Cream Parlor, they entered from the Roxborough side, and they continued walking past the little space to separate, and they went onto the white side and occupied two booths and proceeded to order ice cream. They were refused service, of course, and the manager asked them to leave. But the group continued to order ice cream, and the manager called the police. Now, as I was reading the information, they really tried to just, hey, we don't want any trouble. If you just go, we'll be okay. But they refused to go. And when the police got there, they tried to compromise also. Just, we won't charge you with anything, just leave. But they refused to leave and were arrested for trespassing. On the following day in court, they were fined $10 each. They were found guilty and fined $10 each, but wanting to challenge the constitutionality of segregation, they appealed to the Superior Court, North Carolina Superior Court, represented by attorney William Marsh Jr., before an all-white jury. They pled not guilty. The Superior Court ruled against them, and they appealed to the North Carolina Supreme Court. The North Carolina Supreme Court upheld the charges, and then they boldly appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court, which refused to hear the case because there was no grounds that the protesters had, that their rights had been violated. And on July 15th, 1958, the group was fined a total of $433.25. The result, the segregation laws were not changed, but it was the first court case testing the legality of segregation laws. It probably was pivotal. For the Greensboro 1960 sit-in, I think it was at Walgreens, by the A&T students in Greensboro. Now, my connection to all of this, I was about 4 or 5 when this happened, but Asbury Temple Methodist Episcopal was my church. Pastor Moore was my pastor. Attorney Marsh was my neighbor. And eventually, North Carolina College was my university when I went there, North Carolina Central University. It's my hometown. Royal Ice Cream Parlor was picketed, and the schools used to get the delivery of the ice cream. You know, you have those little ice cream packets. And the Black schools, because at that time the schools were segregated, the Black schools refused to accept delivery of Royal Ice Cream. So I remember not having ice cream when I was in school. I remember that was the reason. Oh, hey, you know, Blacks can't go. We're not eating your ice cream. So that is the history, part of the history of North Carolina, Durham, North Carolina College, now North Carolina Central University, Douglas Moore, and you know, people talk, oh no, it was A&T. Oh no, it was North Carolina College. If you just Google Royal Ice Cream Parlor sit-in, boom, it'll pop up with the information about what happened. And I am that really is one of the points of pride. I'm so sorry. Points of pride for me in knowing that Durham was really pivotal. You know that word coming out right today. Pivotal. There you go. In starting a movement.
And so you said you were 4 and 5. Were you 4 or 5 years old during the Durham sit-in or the Greensboro sit-in?
No.
During the Durham sit-in. And how did you learn about that sit-in? Was it televised? And
no. The reason that people don't really know a whole lot about it is because there was no news, you know, no pictures right there when they went to sit down. You know, they didn't have that coverage, unlike what happened in 1960 with the students from A&T sitting down. They had national coverage. Okay. But here's the thing, and I have to remind everybody, A&T, which is in Greensboro, and North Carolina College, which is in Durham, there's only 50 miles difference. And they were rivals. So, you know, going back and forth, I'm sure they heard about, or somebody from Durham went over to Greensboro and told them this is what we did. So it's not, it's not, when you're from Durham in that area in Greensboro, it's not unusual for information to flow back and forth because they were both historically Black colleges in a close proximity
Mm-hmm.
to each other.
So, how old were you when you finally understood what was taking place in 1957 at that lunch counter?
I really don't know. It's like it was common knowledge in Durham that that had happened. It wasn't anything, you know what I'm saying? It's not was wow, this really happened.
Right.
It was just common knowledge of what had happened. So I'm sure in my little baby brain, I'm sitting there and I remember when Pastor Moore used to preach, I just remember he would be like soaking wet when he, but I know, that I probably heard about it from my parents. I, was more cognizant of it. And we didn't get the ice cream and we knew what the reason was,
Mm-hmm.
so it was more like common knowledge in Durham what had happened.
Wow. So what was so if you were 4 and 5 at that time, how old were you that you can remember when you understood racism and understood the segregation of what was happening? Even though it was common knowledge, it was like everyday living to you. But when you found out that there was a political thing against Blacks, how old were you and how did you feel about that?
I can't say exactly how old I was. There was a time when Martin Luther King came to Durham, and my sister and I were like, "Oh, we want to go." And we were just, maybe 8 or 9, 10. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
we want to go, and they're like, "We're not going anywhere,"
Mm-hmm.
because we were just little girls.
Mm-hmm.
But I think because there are some things that you grow up with that you just know, um, because of the environment that you're in. I knew I was in an all-Black school. I knew we weren't getting the ice cream. I knew we were in poor straits because all the books we got, all the lines were gone. You know what I'm saying? When you
Yeah,
step
they were used books.
well, they were all used books.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't feel like I was missing out on anything. Durham was a different place. It had the Black bank, Black insurance company, Black owned businesses everywhere. Our community, the area in which I lived, which was South Durham, we had everything except clothes to go buy. We had
Mm.
a movie theater, we had a bakery, we had our doctors, our dentists, our lawyers, our funeral homes, the library. We had a hospital, and we had North Carolina College
Mm.
there. So there was one thing, I didn't really see Black people. White people.
Right. You didn't grow up around a lot of white people.
I
Wow.
really didn't. I really didn't. The white people that I did see and know, my dad taught at North Carolina College, and my mama worked there in the
Mhm.
library. And then she became the bursar later on, years down the road. And my daddy later on became um, the education, what do you call it? Department chair
Mhm.
of the
Mhm.
education department. But the white people I knew were the professors that taught at North Carolina College.
Okay.
And if I knew any white kids, it was only because, maybe they brought their kids and our kids, came at the same time, but I really didn't know them. I knew the
Now,
professors.
now, Now that is very unusual because I have frequently heard white people say they never seen black people. When I went to boot camp, I had a girl in my unit that said she never seen black people. But to hear black people say that they never lived around or seen white folks, that is unusual. And so when did you first of all, does Durham still have a historical? Is the Royal Palace still there?
Girl, you know they tore that thing
That
down. It was, everybody knew Royal Ice Cream Parlor. It
Did-
was on the north side of town. So I never even really knew of the ice cream parlor because we didn't go to the north side of town.
right.
North side of town and East Durham were more integrated than the South.
Okay.
Um, so I didn't really know where it was until later because we just, I didn't drive. My parents weren't going up
Right.
there. It wasn't a thing to do. But it changed hands and became a school, I think, and then later on they just tore it down. There is a historic marker there,
Okay.
but that place no longer exists,
And,
and the church that happened, the church building where they took communion and prayed before they went to do the sit-in, changed hands. And it's very, very frustrating to me, although I'm not in Durham anymore. The church are the people, right?
right.
Okay, so the people in that building grew to an extent where they had to get another building. So the new building that they went into, there's a historic marker saying this is Asbury Temple United Methodist Church, where blah blah blah. And I'm like, that's not the building. That's not the
Right. Right.
So
Right. That
I'm
is
very
not the
frustrated.
original building.
Yeah, it's not
Right.
the original building.
Right.
And I understand that the church are the people, and so the people bought another building, and then they put a historic marker. But no, that's not where it is. The real church is on Lawson Street in Durham, North Carolina, sitting up on a little hill. But I heard that there was a fire, and so it didn't burn down, but it is damaged, and I don't know if the church that now the people that are associated with that church are going to do anything with it.
Is ice cream one of your favorite treats now?
Oh no. I was in the grocery store the other day, and I'm like, why don't I do ice cream? I just don't do. So I'm like, I think maybe I got trained. No ice cream at lunch. Yeah, I don't need it.
So that is kind of frequently, because I tell you, yes, I don't think I remember the title. I always thought that it happened at a Woolworth counter.
Woolworth. Yeah. No, no.
Wow. Wow.
The first one was at the Royal Ice Cream Parlor in 1957. It's very well documented. I gave you several websites.
Yes.
And there is a museum, I believe, that houses the general Durham history of desegregation protests, blah blah, pictures of Martin Luther King when he was in and just some continued history. A lot of
So when did Durham become integrated?
I can't say that it was never integrated. I'm just saying that the south part of Durham, where the college was more or less self-contained. When I was in 1971, when the federal government finally said, all these segregated schools have got to stop. You
Yes.
know that? Okay.
Yes.
There were only two high schools in Durham, and I was going to the white high school. You know, we were black people integrated, white people did it. You know,
Okay.
you had
Right.
the school choice.
Right.
You could
Right.
choose to go over here.
Like
You know,
Ruby
and
Bridges, she went to their school. They didn't invite her in there. Right.
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 But
We
but
integrated. We didn't.
yeah, and the white people never said, "Oh, well, I think I'll go over here."
Right.
So, in 71, federal government, you know, there are only two high schools, one's over here, one's over here. They cut the city down in half and said, everybody on this side goes to Durham High, everybody on this side goes to Hillside. And I got transferred to go to Hillside. So that started well, that did do the integration as far as the school.
Mm-hmm. That
But
sounds so similar to Rise Risley. You know, Rise Risley, because they were an all black school. And
mhm,
then when they began to integrate, they separated those black children between Glen Academy and Brunswick High.
mm, mm.
Yes. So
So
that,
they just did away with Risley altogether.
right, but I'm glad that the original building,
Building is
Rise
still there.
Risley, is still there, because it would have been just like the church that you went to. People thinking that's the original church where
Right,
Pastor Moore got together and organized and did that sit-in.
right.
But Rise Risley, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So knowing that you were, and in 57, that's the year I was born, in September, but that's kind of funny. But now, after all of these years and the environment going on in the government, what is your thoughts about that, where he's trying to get us to go back to those days and times?
We've got to be alert.
Mm-hmm.
Can't we can't be afraid
Mm-hmm.
because he's throwing so much at the country all at once
Mm-hmm.
that we just need to basically concentrate on one or two issues that affect the local community.
Mm-hmm.
And what can you think of to resist?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the United States has ever been put in a position where they had to develop a resistance like
Mm-hmm.
they had to do in World War II.
Mm-hmm.
But now we got to be smart
Mm-hmm.
how we do the resistance.
Mm-hmm.
What do we do to help impact our local community? Because
Mm-hmm.
right now we can't really, local people, just people on the ground, we can't really have that much of an impact except to our representatives, except
Mm-hmm.
those phone calls, to write those letters, and just do it, do it, do it, do it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But then here, how can what policies is he doing right now that we can resist
Mm-hmm.
and make an impact?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
what Bob, there are so many things, he throws things at us and, we go squirrel,
Right. And
we're
he
stuck.
don't
Yeah,
right. And he figures if he bombards us with all of those things at one time, that's going to redirect our attention while he does what he wants to do. Because whenever they come out and say, this is why we reduced this department, or we got rid of this department because it was just rampant, overspending and these laws. But actually, that's what they're doing, and putting it on us. You
that's
know what
right.
I'm saying? And
That's right.
so, and then what they want to do is they want to eliminate anybody who can press charges against them or
That's
stop
right.
them what they're doing.
That's right.
And so that will lead the way for him to be able to do what he wants to do,
Yeah.
and so, and one of the things I said around this election season last year was we have to find a different language of engaging the younger generation, because Roland Martin said the other day that the baby boomers, those who are in their 50s and 60s now,
Seven.
we yes, we led the way after Malcolm, Martin, and all of them. But right now, the millenniums and Generation X, really Generation Z, which is our grandchildren, they have to step up and do something. And because they are a part of this, they have to start making decisions that we were making to
Right,
come along to make it better for them. You know what I'm
right,
saying? Because
right.
they're going to raise, if they haven't already done it, the retirement age to 67, full retirement age to 67. So they're going to work longer and harder than we did. And so by pulling back DEI, which we are last of the list of those receiving DEI
Right.
benefits, they put all of that on us. But we just have to find a way of reestablishing our own communities again,
Hmm.
and but our history, we should always tell it. I feel as though now I just don't want to wait until February. I should just have somebody on every month to give a Black History moment to keep it alive. Because
Sounds good.
yes, because just to and to the thought of that, it seems like, when you raising your child and your parents says don't do that, that's what that child wants to do more. And I want to see more other races and the white people to understand our history. But I think sometimes we tell them, I hate to say this, but sometimes when we get in groups of Black and white people, we tell them a lot of our plans. We tell them a lot of how they treated us. That we tell them, and when they give us our list of how we treat them, it's not as full as the list we give them of how they treat us. And I think that's just still a continuation of how they keep their foot on our neck. And I think we have to tell, just like in politicians, they come out and say, well, we're going to do this over this seas, we're going to do this overseas over here. Keep our security in a secret, because when you put it out there, then they already resisting and know how they should go about opposing what we want to do. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? And
Yeah, what Elon Musk and his crew are doing, probably realigning algorithms to make
mm-hmm,
it harder for us to even file our taxes.
right.
I mean, they're in the IRS right now. They're
Mm-hmm,
they're through Social Securities, Medicare, Medicaid. I mean, they're doing so much, but you have to look at why. The why. The why is they are trying to take all of our rights away.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I mean, birthright citizenship. You want to do what?
Right. And like people are saying, start with your own family first. J.D.
Yeah.
Vance's wife is Indian.
Ooh,
Look,
ooh, ooh.
look at Donald Trump's wife. She's from another country,
Yep.
And so what I really think is happening, I just think that during COVID, we re-educated, we re-evaluated what we were doing as far as business and work. And then once COVID was over and we were lifted and we could come out again, we didn't go back and work in their jobs. We had created our own jobs,
Right.
and we were and we are always inventing something or
Right.
revising something to make it better. And so
Right.
we weren't lazy after COVID. They just didn't understand that we were doing our own thing, developing our own communities again. And so now I just think they're tired of competing against us. How many times do you see us that we have $1 million scholarships, or our Black children graduated high school at 14 or 15 and going to college,
Right.
and they're not coming out with associates and bachelors. They're coming out with masters and PhDs in their
Right.
20s. you
Right.
know. And so for them to take that education away, they want to send us back so we won't have to do it. But my thing is, don't stop going to college. That's what they want you to do. Keep on going if you can go. But like you said, they're gonna make it harder. But that
You
doesn't
know,
mean we have to stop going.
they're going to make everything harder. We have to be mindful and watch out as to what they do with the Civil Rights Act
Mm-hmm.
1964 and the Voting
Mm-hmm.
Rights Act 1965. What are they doing with that? Because
Right.
they're going to bring it back to the Supreme Court, and no telling what the Supreme Court is going to do.
And to overturn it, we have come a long way.
Yeah.
I mean, if you do from slavery up to now, what we have invented, I mean, every day things that we use just to live, the television, the light bulb, the remote control. I read the other day where the car gears in the car to change gear shifts, we invented that. And so give us credit for what we did. Don't be mad at us. You know, be glad. And then to make America look so silly by taking away people that are doing their job to people that know nothing about the department or government or the job. They just want to literally change the government into a business.
Yeah, and the government is not a business. It's there to uplift, help, support, defend.
Mm-hmm.
Internationally. I mean, us not supporting our alliances in
Mm-hmm.
NATO.
Right. That's
I'm like,
crazy.
that's crazy.
That's
But
crazy.
okay, so we have to pull back
Yes.
what it is locally that we can do. Try to influence our representatives in the Senate and the legislature. Vote for people. Now, here's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
So many voted for Mr. 47. So many voted for Kamala Harris,
Mm-hmm.
but the majority of the voters didn't vote. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why we got 47.
Yeah, because what but it wasn't it what was how many did they say Kamala Harris mail-in ballots got rejected? 3.2 million, you know?
And the
And
other thing was the voter suppression, purging
mm-hmm.
the rolls, purging the rolls,
Mm-hmm.
purging the rolls, and that affected the amount of votes also.
Mm-hmm.
But there were a lot of people who just sat on their hands.
Yes. Yes.
The
Because they still
majority of the majority sat
mm-hmm.
on their hands. I
Mm-hmm.
think he got 30%. He got 31. She got 30%. 35% didn't vote.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, it affects us. I mean, people don't. Okay, we're going to be doing civic courses at our office, at the Glendale's office. We're going to be opening up our office and um, having civic education because we really do need to know what's going on. We've got we've got constitutions at our office. People can come by and pick those up, because every time they open their mouth, they're talking about the Constitution. You need to open it up and see which amendment, which one they're talking about, and they go, "Hey, no, that's not right."
Right. And before you go, tell people, because those who didn't meet you on this podcast before, you are part of the local Democratic Party. And so, what has changed since the election, and what are y'all doing differently?
Well, right now we're developing our strategic plan. We need to put some things in place. Um, our office is open Tuesday through Saturday. Please bear with us as we gear back up because it took a lot out of us.
Mm-hmm.
The election took a lot out of us and took a lot of enthusiasm away from people who were volunteering.
Mm-hmm.
So I want the community to please bear with us
Mm-hmm.
and gear back up. We are going to be putting out our strategic plan within the next month. and have some activities that we are going to be um, concentrating on. One of them is coalition building within our community, within and without. I just got an email from a young lady in Wayne County, and she wants to build coalition across boundaries and supporting each other. What can we do? Where can we work? What can we do here? We have a committee within our communication committee called the Committee on Legislative Action, and they meet on Wednesdays at 1 o'clock. They're very active. They're very enthusiastic about what they're doing. They just met with a staffer at Buddy Carter's office last Wednesday. And they are going to go back. They're very, and they have an informal petition requesting that Elon Musk get out of our government.
Hmm.
I mean, he's not even officially in our government.
No one voted for him.
No one voted for him. No one nominated him. The legislature didn't have a meeting on him. The Senate didn't confirm him. He has no business running around in our government at all.
But and one thing I can't understand is, why is it so hard for them to remove him if there wasn't no election to put him in there?
Well, the president and his toadies and his
I understand that.
bootlickers, I have never seen so many grown men capitulate to an ignoramus.
Yeah, and Cash Patel and Robert F. Kennedy Jr., when I looked at those confirmation hearings, just what they come out of their mouth to say. I was watching the confirmation of Linda McMahon from WWE Wrestling.
Yeah, what does she know about education?
Right. And they asked her directly, what part of the education system do y'all want to eliminate? What are you looking for? And the congressional people ask her, are you looking for groups that target blacks and minorities? And she didn't answer that. And she said, no, that's not what we're doing. But that's exactly what they're doing.
That's exactly what they're doing. They want to promote charter schools.
Yeah.
And on the face, because I used to be, my whole career I was in public education as a special ed teacher. I was a speech pathologist. And I even had one of my children in a charter school. It was a mistake. It was a mistake. But the charter, it's like, you want my child to go across town. I can't. I don't have a car. There's no bus system to get there. There's not going to be a private bus to get them there. I mean, there are so many just logical things for not having a charter school. I don't mind a charter school, but what does a charter school offer? Because some kids are not going to function well in a charter school. What the charter school asks parents to do, some parents cannot do. They can't be there every Saturday. They can't be there every night. There are things that they can't do. The charter school is good for some people, if that's what they need to do. But it's not for everybody.
It's just like the vouchers. I was hearing the other day doing a congressional meeting about the vouchers. Even though they're giving, what, $6,400 a quarter or semester, however they're going to run it. But they said that's not going to be the totality of the cost of going to those voucher schools. You know what I'm saying?
And those voucher schools, they really want them to put them in private schools.
Right.
People who can afford to send their child to a private school just need to go ahead and pay for it. Don't take my tax dollars away from my local school.
And the other underlining that no one is talking about is that before he was elected again, they were talking about if you go to public school, that you're automatically have to go It's going to be like the draft to go into the military, but it's not going to be like that for private schools. And who goes to public schools? Blacks and
blacks,
minorities.
blacks and minorities,
You
and
know.
they want to, and they're going to not focus on college. They're going to be
Mm-hmm.
pushing toward vocationals. Now, I don't have any problem with vocational school. The
Mm-hmm.
high school I graduated from, they had a great cosmetology course. They had a great, bricklaying, tailoring. They had great, but not everybody can go the same way. And
Right.
now that's what public school avails children to understand that every child is different. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I'm on my house. One more thing. And I just asked the community to please vaccinate your children.
Mm.
Please don't pay any attention to Robert Kennedy Jr. He is a disgrace to his daddy's name. Okay?
Yes,
That is
he is. But to say that we're going to get less of the vaccine medicine than the white people?
Oh, I haven't heard that one.
Oh, he said that in the he said it in the congressional meeting.
Oh my God.
I forgot the lady, it was a black lady that asked him that he said in the vaccines that the formula that they have in there, that black people will get less of that formula because our DNA makeup is much more stronger. And that lady said that is
A
so,
lie.
but let me tell you something. I've already had those thoughts of the way they were doing the COVID vaccine. Like when it first came out, they were saying Johnson and Johnson wasn't no good. That you had to take two of those, I think, or the other one, the Durham, you only had to take one. But first they said we only needed one. Then they said we needed a second one. Then they said we needed a booster, you know? And so, yeah. And now we have an outbreak of measles. We have an outbreak of the bird flu. So now we're not in the World Health Organization anymore. So we will not be getting bulletins about what is breaking out and what is out in our community. It looks like they're trying to get rid of mankind and
Yeah.
black people and minorities.
Well, the thing is, because there was a vaccine, I remember going to elementary school and getting my
Yes.
little sugar cube for
Yes.
the what was it? Polio? Was it polio?
Polio,
On the
measles,
and
chicken pox.
because we've been in this era where there has not been these tremendous outbreaks of mumps, measles, rubella, polio, and we've lived illness free.
Mm-hmm.
But the illness free was because of the vaccine,
Mm-hmm.
not because of a hole within the
Right.
system.
And the thing about it, his children are vaccinated, but he's telling
Yes.
us not to be vaccinated.
Come on, vaccine your children, vaccine your children,
Yes.
vaccine your children. Please
Yes.
vaccine your children because polio's back in the water.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Measles is an outbreak.
Mm-hmm.
Then
They
there's
having
going to
an
be
outbreak. They having an outbreak of measles in Texas right now.
right now. And they said that county was the lowest vaccinated county. So, okay. So then you're going to have chicken pox is going to come back.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And these are deadly disease. Measles can
Mm-hmm.
give you rheumatic fever, heart conditions, blindness, hearing loss. And that's what you want to take a chance on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm-mm. I'm
Mm-hmm.
vaccine. I,
Mm-hmm.
I trust, I'm just old enough
Yes.
to have seen it, to have lived through it. I mean, I
Yes.
had mumps because they didn't have the
Yes.
vaccine.
Yes.
I had chicken pox because they didn't have a vaccine.
Yes.
I lived through that stuff. Okay. I'm so glad. Okay, put that shot right here for that smallpox. Thank you very much.
Yes. Yeah,
I will take that sugar cube so I don't get polio.
boy, and wait until that scab comes off and everything. We didn't have any issues with that that
Also, there's an outbreak of tuberculosis in Kansas.
rip. Mm,
So why are we playing with our health?
really. And then to confirm him and to confirm Cash Patel. Oh my gosh. You
They're gonna
know.
be rounded. They want to round us up. But see, that's what he's doing. All this boom, 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 boom. No,
Mm-hmm.
take a breath.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Know that it's for a reason. You keep
Yes.
doing all this to get us off kilter. No, the
Mm-hmm.
point is we got to get this man out of office. He, JD Vance, and Mike Johnson, because that's the trifecta right there. That's
Yes.
got
Yes.
to go.
Yes.
That's
And
we have to vote so you can get
mhm.
Hakeem Jeffries in as the Speaker of the House.
Yes.
Just stay focused on
Yes.
what's necessary to do.
Mm-hmm. And downsize those Republicans because this is really clear information of what really's been holding up the things in our government.
Oh
It
yeah,
has finally come out, and Jasmine Crockett gives a clear, concise,
clear
to the
voice.
point, up to
Hmm.
date of what's going on. And
Hmm.
so we're not saying the Democrats are the best or anything like that,
No,
but they are being told why the Republicans held it back and why and who didn't pass what. You know what I'm saying? They
yeah,
talk like they want to do it, but they said they're doing it, but they didn't do it. You know?
right. So that's why we will be offering the civics education classes because you need to
Mm-hmm.
know how the government works.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Why
Mm-hmm.
did this pass? Why don't we have this? Who's in charge of that? Why is it that the Democrats can't, walk over why can't they go beyond what the Republicans in the House want or in the Senate and their rules and regulations and,
Mm-hmm.
you
And
know,
and the answer that's coming back for us is this. Why are they doing this? Because it is saying that they think that if when we become the majority, that we're going to treat them
the
like
way
they
they,
treated us.
I
But
don't,
like God says, you got to live through it. We live through it. You know, if you faint through it, adversities, you don't get your blessings. So why you so afraid? You know what I'm saying? It was all right for us to go through it, but you can't go through it.
and our culture is not of retribution.
No
It's not.
retribution. No, no,
That's not
no,
our culture at all.
no. We are the most forgiving culture. How many times you heard people say that?
No,
We are the most forgiving culture.
we are.
And so, but this last thing before I let you go.
Okay.
Did you see the 6 black people who Trump had out there toting us to vote for him? Tim Scott,
Oh,
Byron Williams, and not one of them is in his administration.
not one. And the only black person in his administration is over HUD, and I guess that's the only thing he thinks black people can do.
Yes, yes.
And I
So
don't even know where he got that guy. I've never heard of him in my life.
no,
Who?
we don't know where he got any of those from.
Oh, but one thing is I was listening. Okay, I'm terrible. I listen to all these people on YouTube and
Hmm.
Instagram. Anyway, okay, so Michael Steele, he gets on my nerves sometimes.
Hmm.
He has some good points, but he said he raised Democratic parents, but he is more aligned with the Republican Party of Lincoln and everything. And and it was like, well, if you're a Democrat, you don't have any values. It was very frustrating. Anyway, my point is, I grew up when I was young. You remember Jesse Helms?
Yes, I do. He got a white daughter. South Carolina, he was sounded like the most racist senator.
Okay, so wait,
Ahead.
we might not be talking about the same guy. Are you talking about, okay, because he was from South Carolina. This guy was in North Carolina. He used to
I
get,
might have the Carolina sections wrong.
yeah, you might have the Carolinas. Jesse Helms did become a senator
Mm-hmm.
in the Republican Party. But when I was growing up, he owned a part of the news TV station in Raleigh.
Okay.
And he would take 6:25 to 6:30 to tell Black people to get back on the boat and go back to Africa. Every day he would come on that TV station and tell us how terrible we were. It was not to be missed TV. And he
Mm-hmm.
built his coalition like that, or his supporters, then became a Republican and went to the Senate. Now, I heard he changed his stripes, but he let me know intuitively, this is not who I want to be a part of. And then when John Kennedy was protecting us, when people were trying to go to school and he was sending the National Guard, these were the
Yes.
people that I was starting to align with. I mean, I could have easily, because, I remember people talking about Eisenhower and everything, and he was a good president, and Black people back then were Republicans.
Yes. Yes.
But
Yes.
because of the realignment within the Republican Party, when they started following Nixon and then Reagan, and the Dixiecrats became Republicans,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to be with those people who didn't want to be with me or be around me or
Right.
support me. So there wasn't any way I was going to become a Republican. And they haven't changed my mind yet.
Right.
Only
Right.
because they don't want me. They don't value my ideas.
Right.
Just no, no. Oh, one more thing. If you
Mm-hmm.
ever get a chance to see, there's a movie that they made about the desegregation in Durham
Mm-hmm.
called Enemy. Oh God, The Best of Enemies.
The best. Let me write that down. And no, I was wrong. It was Strong Thurman.
No, Strom Thurmond. Yeah,
Yeah, they had the black daughter.
yeah,
Yes, yes. But a
yeah.
lot of them have black children, and you won't know it until they transition because they hide
Mhm.
it. Mm-hmm. Now, what you said the name of that movie is?
The Best of Enemies, and it's about the desegregation of schools in Durham.
Mm. Mm.
And then when I went to see the movie, and I'm like, and then they started naming all these people, because I was a little kid, so I wasn't on these committees or anything.
Right.
I know him,
Right.
you're a little girl, and your mom and your daddy take you to this party over here, and they're hobnobbing with these people and these people.
And you're part of history and don't even know it
Don't
until
even
you
know.
watch this movie or
Well,
read history.
I knew there was a coalition because the lady was an activist, and the guy that they had to work together. He was KKK,
Mm.
and they had to work together to
Mm.
help foster the desegregation of the elementary schools. I met that guy.
Mm.
I met that guy years later. He had denounced being a KKK. He had a display of all his regalia and what he used to do. I had a
Mm.
nice conversation with him, but he had, just rejected all of that after working with Ann Atwater.
It's like
I remember
it's
his
like the
name.
Super Bowl. Did you watch the Super Bowl?
I did.
And it's like the environment on social media is like who understands halftime. You know
Right.
what I'm saying?
Okay,
And
so
who doesn't?
okay, confession.
Okay.
I didn't follow hip hop or rap.
Mm-hmm.
because my brain is R&B,
Mm-hmm.
and the words were too fast. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
I saw, I saw, what was it, Hamilton, when Disney was showing
Right.
to play Hamilton, and I'm going, but they're talking too fast, and I can't understand what they're saying. I think I get
Right.
it, you
Right.
know, but so I think for me, I know there is a not a cultural, but a just a, that's not something that is in my brain to do.
Right.
But when I saw it, I told Bob, I said, that's about America.
Yes.
Saying something to
Yes.
America.
Because you seen the red, white, and blue,
Mm-hmm.
and you seen the white. It was all like the flag, and
Mm-hmm.
like they said, the stage was built like a remote control.
And
You
see, there
know.
you go. You lose me because I never
Right.
played.
But if you look, oh my gosh. So if you go on YouTube, they break it down to the
Oh yeah, yeah,
explanation of it.
yeah. I've done everything. I'm like, oh my god, this is so fascinating. But yeah,
Right.
I didn't. And the Samuel L. Jackson piece, even when I was looking at it, because we didn't necessarily have the TV way up so we could hear it. And then when he did that stance like that, I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, oh God, oh my God.
Yes.
That is like
Yes.
the minstrel show stuff
Yeah,
that they
there
used.
you go.
I was like, oh, I'm like, yeah,
Yes.
this is about America.
Because what he said was, as long as things are quiet and calm,
Quiet.
they think people can understand it. But when you get a little too loud,
Yeah.
then you're out of your environment and you're off the thing. I just read before I came on today on Facebook where someone wrote that some people still don't believe that racism is in America. And I respond about, where have they been living?
Really.
Because politics is in everything and
Everything.
racism is in everything,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Even when I was growing up, you have to mind. When I was growing up, you had to mind how you behaved in certain
Yes,
places. We still have to mind how we operate in different spaces. We
yes.
still have to know when to code switch,
Mm-hmm.
when to not put on, behave as others behave in that environment. It's
Mm-hmm.
still unfortunate that we, the darker, we
Right.
have to make other people comfortable. We can't be comfortable, but we have to make that, that responsibility is put on us, unfortunately.
But when we got used to going into the same rooms as them, because yes, there was some kind of intimidation or insecurity going into a room or a boardroom or the table, whatever you wanted to call it, to come talk to them. I think that has been removed, and we have become transparency. When that came out a few years ago, it has blossomed into many different facets of what transparency is. Okay.
Yeah, I think we've gotten to the point where, yeah, we automatically
Trans
operate in different spaces, but we own how we feel and how
right.
we operate. We don't,
Right. Yes, we don't cover it up anymore, because if
right.
you said it, I'm not going to wait until next week to come back
Yeah,
and bring it back up. We're going to deal with it right here and right now.
yeah,
Transparency has come so clear that people are walking around naked. You know what I'm saying? Transparency has come blossomed into a whole new facet of life. But like you said, they're going to have to learn how to live with us, because we're not going anywhere. And to suppress our history, you can take our books out of history, but as long as we have social media, which they are buying up because they want to control the narrative,
yes.
just
And
like he wants to be.
we have to control our own narrative.
Yes,
We just
and
have to.
just like we started saying, we don't need other races to tell our story. We want to tell our own story, because then you'll get the authenticity of what really happened. you know, just like Greensboro or just like Durham, North Carolina, you know. Um, and so we can't go back now. But we're going to be all right. We're going to be all
Yeah.
right.
Yes.
God is still in control, you
True.
know? Yes. Well, um, to the invitation to a conversation community, um, I will be doing these Black history moments with people like us when I hear certain stories that I think is interesting and that I would like to share with you to educate you. And so leave your comments, subscribe, and like my stories. And until the next time, you have a blessed weekend and a blessed Black History Month. Keep our stories alive. Thank
Thank
you.
you.